Welcome to the Delvin Cox Experience, the podcast in which each week I'm on a one-man mission to unite our culture through diversity. I'm your host, Delvin Cox, and with me on the podcast is someone who hasn't been on here in a long time. Someone in my eyes who's amazing. Someone who's in, I guess, 2 documentaries. One coming out really soon. The one probably going to be out by the time y'all hear this. And one coming out when God knows when. Bring it back to the podcast, my girl, Warbaby. How you doing?
I'm doing very well, Devin. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good. Pretty good. You know, everything's
considering.
Good. All things considering. I haven't flown away yet, so that's good.
When you guys have about 2-3 days before the hurricane makes actual landfall, or?
They said Tuesday night.
Oh, that's now.
But it's gonna hit like officially like Wednesday. It's probably gonna pass by Miami, like around Wednesday at noon. But it's a weird thing because it's not necessarily going to hit Miami, but it's going to hit the winds and stuff. We're going to feel the effects of it, essentially.
What are you guys expecting there in Miami?
A lot of rain, a lot of bad wind, maybe some power lines down.
Oh, man. So nobody's going to go to work in Miami either.
Yeah, they just said schools are closed tomorrow. So if schools are closed tomorrow and Thursday, so...
Wow.
That's a sign right there that they're not playing with this.
Something else.
Yeah. But let's get to it. Don't worry about me in the wonderful, crazy world of Miami. Let's get to it. Before we, as always, we like to start the podcast off with the 5 for 5. 5 questions, 5 answers to get the ball rolling. Warbaby, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Question number 1. Give me your top your favorite songs this year you've listened to. Does not have to be
my favorite songs this year.
Yes.
That's really hard. I listen to a lot of music. You should have given me these questions beforehand.
No, then it would be fun. Beforehand. That would be fun, you having the answers and stuff.
Okay, let's see. In 2022 so far, I mainly listen to rap. So
I'm aware.
I'm so bad on the spot. I'm so glad this isn't live.
Nah.
I'd just be running down the time, dodging the question, you know how I do. Let's see. Adele put out a new album. I do listen to Adele as well because, I like to fancy myself a singer. So anything I feel like I can sing to. So I'd say 5 of Adele's songs.
I like Adele. That works. The album's pretty good.
It was a good album. Did you see her live show that she did?
No, I didn't. I don't know why I didn't.
Yeah, you should catch it.
Yeah, I definitely catch it.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I bought the album and my kid looked at me real like, you like Adele? Like, why would I not like Adele?
The last time she put out an album, I had gotten the CD for Christmas and played it so much that my husband and my son knew all the songs.
Oh, there you go. See, Adele's for everybody.
She really is. She really is.
I like it. Question number 2. What is your favorite cereal?
Frosted Flakes.
That's a classic. That is a classic.
I used to say Fruity Pebbles, but I've grown out of Fruity Pebbles a little bit.
The problem with Fruity Pebbles is once you put milk on it, you got like a good 25 seconds to eat it.
The clock starts ticking. Yeah, the clock definitely starts ticking because they're so small. There's not that much area to them. So Frosted Flakes, you get a lot more time to eat them. And I'm a slow eater, so they work for me.
Yeah, I like it. It's good answer.
What about you?
Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Oh, okay. Classic.
I'm a big kid, so I need my sugary, unhealthy cereal. They tell me it's made a whole wheat, but I don't believe them. Not at all.
There's cinnamon in it. That's a spice. So you're doing something healthy for yourself.
Nah, not at all.
Never?
Not at all.
Maybe in the next life.
Maybe. Question number 3. What do you think is the smartest thing you've done as an adult thus far?
Probably found ways to work for myself.
That is a good answer.
I'm not really great at working for people.
That's a good answer. I think finding ways to kind of like become your own boss is always dope.
Well, if you know that you're going to be more successful that way, then, I've tried all kinds of things, but that's one of the smarter things I would probably say
Okay,
I've done.
I like it. Question number 4. Give me your top 3 MCU movies.
Well, I'm a big Ant-Man fan.
Yes, Ant-Man is good.
So Ant-Man, and then there was like a second Ant-Man, right?
Yes,
Ant-Man and the Wasp.
that is correct. And there's one more coming out, so you can't pick Ant-Man 3 because it's not out yet.
Black Panther. Well, I'm not a jerk.
Black Panther's really good. I love Black Panther.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. We went and saw, they re-released Avatar in 3D just for a couple days.
Why did you waste your money on that movie?
Well, because, it's sentimental for us as a couple. So,
I got you.
Yeah. And we had originally seen it in IMAX 3D, like on the big IMAX screen. So they re-released it. We went and saw it again and had a great preview for the next Black Panther film coming out. So
that was probably the best thing about that whole movie. I hate that movie so much.
Sentimental value.
I hate that movie so much.
Yeah, my sister-in-law, she said she worked in the Sears electronics department for like 5 years, and they played it on a loop the entire 5 years, so she can't stand it either.
I would have quit that job day one.
Yeah, I'm telling you what.
Like, all right, that's it. I'm done.
Yeah, I mean, does it hold up? I mean,
no.
It barely held up the second time I saw it after the first time I saw it. So
was that you and your hubby's first date?
It was, I don't think so, but it was just a memorable one, Gotcha. But I think it was pretty close. I don't even remember when the first one came out. Was it 2000?
Something like that. Yeah.
It was something like that.
Yeah, something like that. I remember watching it like, boy, this movie sucks. I just remember like.
Well, did you see it in IMAX 3D?
No, I saw it. I think I saw it. I was too cheap to pay for IMAX back then.
It was so beautiful in IMAX 3D though. Like it was made for it. And I think that's the only thing when I first saw it that enchanted me. But the storyline, pretty lame.
You're not gonna trick me. I'm not gonna pay to go see this movie again. Try as you may.
I had points from AMC on my Stubbs membership, so.
Oh, I got about 40,000 points.
It was free.
So that's a good deal. That's a good deal.
Anyway, yeah. So Ant-Man movies and of course Black Panther. Love it. Have you seen Nope yet?
I loved it. Yes, I did.
I have not seen it yet. I need to find the moment to sit down and watch it. So, but I'm pretty sure I'm gonna love it.
That is the first horror movie I ever took my son to see. It's his first horror movie. He loved it.
Good one.
Yeah, he loved it a lot. He was like, wow, that was really good. Like,
yeah.
He's like, is all horror movies like this? Like, no, they're not. I hate to break it to you, son. No. They're not. 9 times out of 10, they're going to be terrible.
Oh, yeah, usually. That's like part of what makes a good horror movie is that it's terrible.
Yeah.
I don't watch horror movies, actually, so.
You don't watch them at all?
I mean, like, there's many different levels to horror movies, I like paranormal ones and like, Jordan Peele's other films, but I don't watch like Texas Chainsaw Massacre or
the slashers.
Saw. No, I don't watch the Saw movies. Not really interested. I haven't even seen the one with Chris Rock.
That is a treat to watch. It is a treat to watch.
I don't know. It's not really my thing.
It's not. I won't call it good. I will call it interesting. If you can, just watch the beginning of it, just to see Chris Rock play a crackhead, and immediately think of Pookie from New Jack City, because that's what happens. I think in the beginning, this is like a small spoiler. In the beginning of it, because he's a cop in the movie, he plays a crackhead and trying to get into this house.
He's like he's Vice or something.
Yes, and he plays a crackhead, and as soon as you see like he's playing Pookie from New Jack City, it's like.
Hey, he's got to dig down deep and do what he's got to do to get into character. But yeah, no, I haven't even seen that one. So you would think with what I do, but I'm so already immersed in the real life aspects of that kind of stuff. It doesn't really entertain me to see it acted out. Like I get enough of it in my regular life.
That is a very good point.
Question number 5.
Oh, you already know. Give me your top 3 favorite Black TV shows.
Number one, 227.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Number two, I mean, kind of maybe riding on the coattails of 227. I really liked Sister Sister because I like Jack A.
Oh,
Yeah, I
this is
think
really
that's
good.
what it was. Yeah. And then number three, I mean, Living Single was fine.
It's really good. I like Living Single.
I liked A Different World a lot.
Oh, I love A Different World.
Yeah, so I like the Bernie Mac show a lot as well.
That is also a really good show. So
I'll stop there.
You did like 5 or 6. I like it.
But yeah, 227. Loved that when I was a kid.
That is I used
It's
to
up
love
on
227.
Hulu if anyone wants to binge the whole thing.
Oh yeah, it is on Hulu.
Mm-hmm.
Huh, now I have to watch today.
Yeah.
So
before the power goes out.
Yeah, that's also a good point. So, what's been going on with you, Warbaby? It's been a minute since I talk to you all the time, but it's been a minute since you've been on the podcast. But what's been going on with you? Because you had something really cool. I think we should have you on to talk about it.
Oh, okay. Well, I appreciate that. And I mean, I took a little time off during the summer just because my brain really needed it.
Yeah, because
I needed to
depressing ass podcast.
Yeah, it's just so sad all the time.
So for those who don't know, she does. We'll talk about the podcast. I ain't gotta speak for you. About the podcast.
Murderous Minors podcast. It's a true crime podcast, obviously, and I really just cover juvenile justice cases, like as much as I can, looking into the child's background, their parents. I mean, I don't delve real deep into these people's lives, but I basically just use what I can readily access from newspapers and interviews and things like that. I don't put in Freedom of Information Act requests so I can see the crime scene photos and stuff like that. Like, I don't get that deep into it, So, but yeah, basically juvenile justice cases. That's really my forte. And I like to cover them from start to finish and show like what happens, because every state's so different. And then like my exciting news that you were talking about is that I was asked to be in a documentary earlier this year. So I shot a documentary for Tubi. It's a Tubi original. It's called Suburban Nightmares. It's in a series. And the first one they did in the series was about Chris Watt, the family annihilator. And then the second one they're doing in this series is about the Mendez brothers. So it's going to start airing on Tubi tomorrow. So it'll be really interesting to see what everyone's feedback is.
So how did you get involved in a show? Because that's pretty cool. That's awesome to say the least. Like, hey, would you be interested in speaking on this crazy case?
Literally one of the producers, because there's so many producers that have a hand in making one show. This is a 2-hour documentary film. So one of the producers, I'm assuming she was in charge of casting, she had listened to my show. She had heard it. I don't know if she was a listener herself or someone else was a listener, but someone just had heard me on the show. And from that alone, they asked me to be in the documentary.
Wow.
Yeah, which is really the best way to get in a documentary, I would say. I was just minding my own business,
Did you do anything on the Mendez brothers?
No, because they weren't even minors.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure
out. Well, back when I was live streaming a couple years ago, I just happened to have a friend who has known them since the murders happened. He's a journalist. His name is Robert Rand. He's written a book, and we had a true crime meetup in Los Angeles one time, and he lives there. So he came and brought me an autographed book. I knew him from Twitter. And so he's an expert on this case, and he's been interviewing them since before they were even ever suspects in the murder. So he's known this family a long time. And one time it was the 29th or something, 29th maybe anniversary of the murder. So I had him on the live stream, but they didn't even mention that. I don't even know if they ever heard that.
Wow.
So I mean, I had a little bit of a connection to the case. But it was basically just because, it was kids killing parents, even though they were more high school to college age. Well, they were both college age. But yeah, they still invited me on. So I was extremely flattered, but it was one of the most harrowing experiences of my life.
Why
Terrifying.
why terrifying heroin?
Well, it's just because I'd never been on a TV shoot like that before. I had filmed like for another documentary I was telling you about juvenile justice reform. And that only happened because I had had a former juvenile lifer on my show. I had read an article about him in the publication Mother Jones,
Okay.
and it was just chronicling how the governor had given him time served after 37 years, I'm pretty sure.
Wow.
He was 15 or 16 years old and he's 49 now. So or somewhere around there. He was around there when I met him like in 2018. So he was on my show a couple times, and then the Supreme Court had finally, there was a Supreme Court case that hinged a lot of this juvenile justice reform was hinging on this case. Yet this kid himself had had his resentencing hearing in 2017, and it literally took the judge 4 years to make his decision. So
Wow.
all these other kids behind him got resentenced or didn't receive a sentence of life without parole. But he never, he didn't, he was just in limbo. So finally, after 4 years, the judge, boom, just like let the decision go that he just resentenced him to life without parole. So when Antonio Esprit is the gentleman's name, when we heard this, we were just both like, oh my gosh, did you hear? So we were like, let's get together and talk about this for the show. So a couple weeks later, he said, hey, so the producers that are filming me for a documentary, they were planning on coming out, but they now want to come out and film us talking about the decision on your podcast.
Wow.
So I released the whole episode, and the whole episode I'm also being filmed for the documentary. So that's how that happened. But this was a totally different experience. It was like a real TV shoot. So like with the lights and just cameras everywhere and guys everywhere just staring at me. The crew of guys was so fun. It was just like a really oddball mix of different kinds of nerds.
Okay.
We talked about DuckTales, so you can appreciate.
Oh, so yeah. Those are my people there.
DuckTales came up. So but yeah, I was like, I don't know how people first off strive to do this in their life, want to do this. Like, it was an anxiety inducing experience for me, and I feel like I look terrified. So we'll see tomorrow.
No, I think from the trailer I saw, like, you look great. I think you're gonna do a great job.
I'll let everyone watch it and let me know how it goes, and then I'll dip my toe in, maybe in small segments, till I can watch the whole thing. Some actors and actresses never watch their work. I understand that now. Yeah. I was just sitting there trying to be myself. I can't imagine trying to be someone else.
Well, let me ask you this question, because I think this is the question I asked a lot of podcasters, because you're a podcaster. So do you go back, well, besides editing, of course, and listen to your podcast?
Never.
Yeah.
No, ever. I mean, it would be, if someone wanted to torture me, they would lock me in a room and just play my podcast from the beginning to the end, and it would be I wouldn't make it out alive. I don't know why. It's just, even the editing process, sometimes by the end of it, I'm like, I never want to hear from this bee again. Like, she never shuts up. She's always talking. But then the next day you're right back at it, because for some reason you also can't stop.
Yeah. I always feel like when I listen back to my podcast, I try not to do that because it drives me crazy. You notice every little mistake.
Well, we turn them over so quickly. I don't even remember doing it.
Yeah, that's also another thing.
It's also like something you kind of do superficially, consciously, so that you're not reabsorbing like everything, And so I stay real superficial, and then I just kind of let it go from my brain, Like, then if I happen to have to sometimes you'll save it to your iTunes and you're listening to your music and your show will start on accident and or you accidentally hear like some clips and you're just like, I don't even remember that happening. Maybe it's the weed though. That could actually be the weed.
That's a good point. Gotta do it.
Because we do it a little bit different over here on the West Coast. I don't know how y'all do it over there in Florida, but I know it's not recreational.
Yeah, Florida's Florida.
Yeah.
Florida, it might not be weed in Florida. Might be something else.
Yeah, I don't know how anyone could drink alcohol and then record a podcast. Like I could never do that.
Oh, I know several people who do that.
I mean, I guess if you're ad-libbing, but my show is so rigid and scripted. I mean, like if you need to go to sleep, turn that on. You might have a nightmare, but you'll drift in right nice to sleep.
Your show is the type of show that should be on Investigation Discovery. Stuff like that, like the true crime shows. But
my research is much better.
Yes, I agree. I definitely agree. I love your show, even though that shit is depressing sometimes. Like but it's so informative and it's so different from every other true crime show that I hear out there. And that's why I don't listen to too many true crime shows. I think the only one I like really got into besides yours was Serial. That first season of Serial, which was kind of current now, considering everything that's happening.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and yours, I think I like yours because, like I said, yours is just so different.
Well, I try to keep them really short too. Like last week, my episode was 45 minutes, and I'm like, that's kind of a lot. I had a lot of clips though. I had a lot of clips from court, which I like to put that kind of stuff in there too. Because the NFL season just started, I covered a case out of Houston where a 16-year-old boy was accused of shooting and murdering his parents. And his dad is Antonio Armstrong, who used to play for the Dolphins. He was a linebacker. Huh. So in 2016, so it's been since 2016 that he was murdered, and his son was actually prosecuted and there was a hung jury. And they're about to go back to trial next week. So he's like 22 now and has a kid of his own. He's been out on house arrest for a long time now.
Wow.
So I covered that last week. And but yeah, it was pretty long because the attorneys were real fiery. So I had to put a lot of the stuff they said in there. And it's just sometimes it's more impactful when you hear them saying it. You know what I mean?
I agree.
Like I only include clips from, the killer. Anytime I can get the killer actually speaking or the alleged killer, then I'll try to include some of that because I think it's important, that's who we're talking about. You should hear from them. And anytime like there's lawyers or police officers, I'll include their statements. I don't care about infringing on, their rights, but anyone else like newscasters and stuff, I don't ever record clips of any other newscasters or anything speaking like that. I try to keep my clips to a minimum. I try to keep the show short because I don't want to traumatize anyone. That's not what I'm trying to do,
Let me ask you this. How long does it usually take you to sit up and record an episode, like to put all that stuff, because that's a lot of research?
Yeah, I mean, the bulk of the work I would say comes in the script, but I can usually turn over a whole episode 7 to 10 days. I mean, I've done it quicker, but the quality suffers. So I'm not real strapped in with ads right now. So I've been trying to focus less on ads in my episodes and more on other things. So I don't have to adhere to a schedule of ads. Okay. So like now, after all these years, my listener base is steady enough that this is terrible. And this is not industry-wide standard, but I kind of been dropping whenever my shit is ready. Like when it's good and ready and full of everything I want it to be, then I'm going to do it. I'm not going to just be like, oh, it's Friday. You know what I mean? Like if it's not ready, it's not ready. Like sometimes I need a little bit more time because I'm following cases that are actually happening in real time. People are going to court, decisions are being made, and I want to be there like when it happens, which means I have a kind of wonky release schedule now, but I'm embracing it. I mean, it makes my life work better and it's better content for the listeners, but I'll never go over 45 minutes because I don't want you to think about it for that long. I just want you to hear it, be like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. Kind of let it go out, and go on with your life.
Okay.
Yeah,
You're not pulling the Kanye? You're not like releasing it, then pulling it back and editing stuff on it?
No. I mean, maybe somewhere in my first 10 episodes I did that, but no. Now you just got to let it go. Once it's out there, and there's really nothing you can do about it. Well, I mean, I can try to pull it down if a parent emails me and tells me to take a 6-foot bong rip out of her ass. I had a mom tell me that.
That happened?
Yeah, and I was like, I didn't tell you to leave your gun out so your kid could shoot your other kid, but fine, I'll take it down. Like, it was in the news. I can talk about it,
Hold on. See, what, she messaged you?
That literal thing. I've remembered it all these years.
She messaged you to take the bong?
Wow. A 6-foot bong rip out of her ass.
Wow.
Yeah, that's harsh.
Yeah.
And the crazy part is, I don't even think I mentioned these people's names. I just mentioned the story. Like, I'm not big on blasting everybody's names. You know what I mean? I don't name siblings. I don't even name your parents. Like, sometimes I'll just be like his father or his mother. Like, you don't need to know everyone's birth date, their damn home address, their middle initial. Like, you don't need to know all that. Just the killer and the victims, Or if the parents get sued or arrested, then I'll mention them. But you don't need to have like every sibling's name listed. That's like too much of a violation. I'm already violating these people's privacy.
Yeah,
like
that makes sense.
I try to keep it as minimally invasive as I can, but I hear from tons of people who are grown-ups now who went to school with these kids. Some of the older stories I've done. Somebody told me the other day, I saw a comment on my YouTube about this guy. The case was like a guy in New Jersey who had supposedly answered like a sex ad and ended up killing the guy. He was like 16. And somebody messaged me or commented on YouTube that that person, the killer, was their bully in high school.
Oh.
And like used to torment them on the bus and like all kinds of these other things. I had a dad once, okay? I did this episode a long time ago. It's been years, called Beheaded. And I had a couple stories about, juveniles who had murdered somebody and like also cut their head off, okay? One of the kids had done this to an elderly man, and then his father messaged me and said that the man that his son murdered molested him when he was a kid. And that wasn't in the news.
Wow.
It was his birthday, okay? And it was on the killer kid's birthday. He was like turning 19, I think. And I don't know the dad. I don't know why he was listening to this, but he did.
That was my next question. Like, how are these people finding this podcast?
Well, because if they Google the kid's name, it's going to shoot them right to YouTube or just wherever the name comes up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that
so
makes
you
sense.
Google your kid's name and you're gonna find him. But he didn't say anything bad. He just kind of explained some of the story, and he just told me how sad he was and how heartbroken. And because my show is so middle of the road, I'm not trying to have an opinion, and I try really hard to withhold my opinion because I know that we don't have all the evidence. There's no way we would possibly know everything involved in these cases,
That's true.
So I'm just relaying the information for people who want to know but don't have time to look at every news article ever written about a case. You know what I mean? So it's just like an easier way to get the information out.
Because you touched something I want to ask you a question about. When you have people like parents message you or call you or whatever they do and give you that information, is that something you maybe tempted to add an addendum to, or has parents ever say, hey, can you add this to your podcast to kind of give clarification of what's going on? Has there ever been a situation like that happening?
No. He is only one of a handful of the parents of the killers who've, most time the killers and, the killers' families don't want anything to do with me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've spoken to way more victims family members and mothers and stuff than I have killers' families. But he's one of the very few who's even ever tried to give me an explanation.
That's fascinating.
And I did relay the information in my private Facebook group, but that's as far as it went.
I do find that fascinating because usually people, when stuff like that happens, people want to kind of get that information like, hey, this is why that happened, the context and stuff. That's really interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I like, a lot of the cases I cover, the trials are out there, the trial transcripts I've read. I've seen what the parents have said. I quote them, you know what I mean? So, like, how much can you have to say to me, I guess? I mean, of course you can have a million things to say to me, but no one's really ever tried to correct the record. I'm always waiting. Like, I've had people tell me I got things wrong or I don't know the whole story, and I never pretend that I do. I'm literally just going by what's been published in the media. I'm not an investigative journalist. I'm not trying to get to the bottom of it. I'm just telling you what happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he was one of the only guys, and the poor man, he was really heartbroken. Of course, he was really heartbroken by all the pain that he'd seen his son go through. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but I try to be really, it's hard because I've had people tell me, oh, I can tell you're a Democrat. And I'm just like, how?
Wow.
Like, how can you even say that? Oh, it's because I'm not saying that everyone should get the electric chair. You know what I mean? Because I'm not out there saying, oh, these kids were born evil. Like born evil, I'm sorry, that's like a religious thing to me.
Yes,
because that's the biblical stuff. Like that has no place in the criminal justice system.
Let me ask you this, because you touched on a lot right now. But I want to ask you a simple question. How do you depress, kind of get your mind off this stuff when you're not doing it? Because you do a lot and it's a lot to take in at one time. And this could be overwhelming sometimes, people, because dealing with the content matter. Because like I said, it's kids.
I'm completely desensitized at this point.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, every once in a while, I'll have a case where I really can't get the kid off my mind. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And then every once in a while, I'll have to take a month off, just to generally decompress and not really think about it. But my obsession with true crime goes back, to when I was a kid, because I grew up in Southern California and there was just like serial killers and just running around everywhere.
Yeah, because when I was in Cali, I remember there's a serial killer museum there. And when I went, I'm like, this is the weirdest shit I've ever seen. Like, how do you have for those who don't know,
there's been that many.
Yeah, you just go in there. I think it was like $5, and they have like actual crime scene photos, evidence. And you just go in there and look at it. You can they'll tell you the story of the serial killer. Like, this is so fascinating.
Yeah, so it's something I've always been into, and I've always been able to absorb the material without it really affecting me too much. Like I can go to sleep listening to things about true crime. Like I don't have nightmares. Like when I was listening to Harry Potter, I kept having nightmares when I was when I was listening to the Audible when I was sleeping. But true crime doesn't even do that to me. I would have nightmares of Dementors. But not serial killers. That's crazy. It is very strange. Yeah, but like the true crime stuff, I'm just like, nothing even surprises me anymore.
You've been to true crime conventions, if I remember correctly.
Lots. Yeah, several now.
What is that like?
It's wild and real white.
I can imagine.
Like this year at Vegas, I'm telling you, there was so few Black girls there that pretty much every single one of them sought me out at one point just to say hi.
That's so fascinating because true crime goes so well with Black culture. And what I mean by that is every Black mother I know, they are into true crime. They watch, like my mom is a perfect example of that. She watches all those shows. Like every true crime documentary is out there. She watches. She sends me messages about them and stuff I don't even ask about. She just sends it to me. So it's so interesting that you wouldn't have that presence at these type of conventions. Maybe it's a thing where we just don't know about it.
It's possible. I mean, they kind of spread it all around the country, so it's not like it's condensed to like any kind of location. It's been, I've been to, it was in Las Vegas this year, and I've been to New Orleans. It was in Indianapolis, and it was in Nashville. And we were supposed to do Orlando, but then remember the pandemic canceled Orlando, and they're going to do Orlando next year, actually.
Oh, let me know
if it's still there. Yeah, after this hurricane, because I think it's going to get that far. No.
Yeah, it's getting to Orlando.
Yeah. So we'll see. Fingers crossed. If not, maybe it'll just be the cruise out of where Orlando used to be. But no, it's wild, and I'm not sure. I mean, it takes a certain kind of person, I would say, to actually spend money on this kind of thing. I would say more like a single person, like a matronly type person. No, it's definitely a certain kind of demographic of someone who would actually travel for something like this. I never would if I didn't consider it work. You know what I mean?
Well, look.
And networking and meeting people and, seeing colleagues I haven't seen since the last time we got together. But I would never go just as like a convention attendee.
Yeah. Well, look, Orlando's 3 hours away from me.
Yeah.
So if you go next year, I'll probably go.
Yeah. Miami might be in Orlando by then. You just never know after the storm.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, I got to look and see when it is. And, I'm always so wishy-washy about it until right when it's time to go. I'm like, I could be dead by then. Like, I'm not going to put money down on tickets. Like, I don't know what was going to be.
I hope you still be alive by then.
Hey, you never know. One of my kids could get really pissed off and just come right after me. But they're adults now, so I couldn't even cover that on my own show. Somebody else would have to cover it.
I don't want to cover that.
Another true crime. Hopefully Dateline will do it or something.
Dateline or Serial.
Yeah.
One of those.
So are you surprised about Adnan Syed getting released from prison? Did you see it coming?
Not at all. Because I don't want to say I forgot about the case, but it's been so long since we really got up. Well, you probably know better than I would. Like updates on it. I was like, I don't know if this is going to happen. Because Serial was years ago.
So many. It was like 2014.
Yeah. And they've had like multiple other seasons.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like,
did you listen to the Bo Bergdahl season, like season 2 of Serial or anything?
I did. And I want to say after that, I stopped.
Yeah. I don't even know what the subsequent seasons were, but I really enjoyed season 2. I mean, I liked that story. I mean,
I did. I started getting to season 3. I think it changed so much. Like, maybe it's not for me anymore.
Yeah.
But that first season with Adnan was so fascinating. And it was so much around that season. And I kind of think it kind of inspired like this whole crop of true crime podcasting.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there definitely was people who had been doing it for years before that, but it really made it something that people weren't embarrassed to say they liked. Yes. It's like true crime light,
Exactly.
Like it's not like full, like there's no bloody knife or anything in the logo. So it's like you can talk about it at church or whatever. It's an interesting news case, Yeah.
And I think it was so cool that that's one of the few times, at least when it comes to podcasting, where it's almost one of those water cooler moments where everybody's talking about the same podcast at the same time. And now all this time later, we started to see like, the story's going to continue. And we're going to get this kind of see it in real time.
Yeah. And I mean, Serial is what made the case widely known. Yeah. I don't believe it had anything to do with him being released. It is just, obviously his lawyers are going to work to get him released regardless, but it definitely put him on the map. Heyman Lee, the victim on the map. I'm really hoping that once we figure this shit out with Adnan, if they decide he didn't do it, I hope they try to find out who did. That'd be the most interesting next step in this case. And it's like, that's the part everyone forgets about. It's like free Adnan, but if he didn't do it, who did?
That's something that I had always kind of bothered me with these type of cases, because sometimes it feels like, especially when you talk about true crime stories, it feels like the victim becomes an afterthought. I know, like, that's one of the conversations that's being discussed around the Jeffrey Dahmer TV series right now. How it's kind of glorifying Jeffrey Dahmer while not highlighting all the victims he's had and the tragedy that he's caused to all these families.
I mean, that's usually what people say, but in this new Dahmer, they did highlight the victims. And then now they're like, well, now you're making us relive it. Well, do you want to be highlighted or not? Because people are going to talk about it,
Yeah.
Now, the side-by-side acting out of the witness of the victim impact statement from the end. Have you seen the miniseries?
Did
your mom watch it and tell you?
Well, she told me, but I didn't watch it yet. I did see the side-by-side.
Yeah, the side-by-side, the woman, she's just like, they didn't even ask me if they could do that. But it's like, I mean, you're in court. It's a matter of public record. Like, it was on the news, So it's a really fine line. And it's like, even with my show, the title is supposed to let you know going into it that we're mostly dissecting the life of the killer. Like, obviously, I will give you every single detail I know about the victims as well. I mean, I spend as much time on the victims as I can, but it's just like, that's not the information that's usually out there. Like, they're not putting out tons and tons of information about the victims, So it's not like you always have that to go back to, but especially when it comes to serial killers, I feel like, yes, the victims always do feel like the focus is not on them because, there's obviously going to be many of them. And it's like hard to, I mean, we wouldn't be talking about the killer if it wasn't for the victims,
Yes.
But I always have to think of it this way, though. You're keeping your loved one's name remembered as well. Like, this actually brings to light who some of these victims were. And this miniseries I thought it was just so well done because it touched on a lot of different aspects that they usually just want to talk about the murders, and the gross things that he did,
Yes.
But they spent a lot of time really getting into some of the victim stories and how they were impacted other people in his life, not just the victims as well. And that's the kind of insight you don't usually get in these kinds of cases,
I do think the discussion around, since we're talking about the Dahmer series, is fascinating because I think a lot of people didn't realize that a lot of his victims were people of color.
And that he lived straight in the hood.
Yeah. So me seeing people starting to realize that, like, oh, he was coming after our people.
Mm-hmm.
And that wasn't really discussed a lot when you talk about Jeffrey Dahmer.
Well, it wasn't. He was white. The cops that did nothing about it were white, and it's just like, what are they going to say? Oh, if you finish watching it, everything having to do with the cops will just further infuriate you,
I'm definitely going to watch the whole thing.
It was really good. I mean, I was expecting it to be, okay, but Ryan Murphy, who does American Horror Story, he had a hand in it. So I wasn't sure what to expect. You never know what you're going to get with him.
That is true. I like the first few seasons of American Horror Story. And then
we got to Coven, and I was just like, why is Stevie Nicks here? Like, this doesn't even make any sense.
Yeah.
But 1984 was really good.
I did watch that. That was good.
Yeah. The Half and Half on Earth and on the Sea or whatever, that half and half pandemic season, that was pretty good too, with the two totally kind of different stories. But yeah, I wasn't sure what I was going to get with Dahmer, but I inhaled the whole thing in one sitting.
I'm definitely going to watch that this week, then. I ain't got nothing better to do. As long as I have power, I'll watch it.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully that backup generator will kick in.
Yeah, that's a good point. So, are you excited for the documentaries coming out? How? I don't know if you can disclose this. How much of you do you think? Have you seen the final cut of it?
No.
One. So you don't know how much you in it or not.
Nope.
How long did you talk for in it? And, like recording it, was it like?
I mean, our shoot, my part of the shoot, just me, was about 7 hours.
Wow.
I literally told the entire story from start to finish, so they can pick and choose. I mean, from what I remember her telling me, I'll be basically kind of narrating the story, but I don't know I don't know what everyone else's roles are. I'm sure there's a psychologist and, probably some lawyers and a cop or two. There's probably about 6 of us, I think, in there, as far as I could tell. But I'm the only podcaster. I'm almost positive.
I was going to ask that. So that's kind of dope. You're the only podcaster in there. They got experts and all that stuff. That's pretty dope.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So, and we filmed it at the end of March. So,
that was
already ready.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we filmed it like April, like March 30th, April to April 1st, something like that. April 3rd, something like that. So, it wasn't that long ago. And it's already ready. So,
that's really cool.
But I mean, I don't know. I don't even really know how I'm going to react when I know it's streaming. I don't know if I'm going to go right directly and watch the whole thing, or am I just going to wait a little bit? I don't know how I'm going to react.
Well, I'm watching it as soon as it comes out.
Well, make sure you let me know what you think.
Oh, you know good and well I'm going to let you know what I think.
Yeah, I'm like a 2-hour documentary. It's a long time.
I think because of the case it is, I think that's kind of warranted.
And it spanned 30 years. So it takes a while to tell that whole story. There's a lot of different angles to it. So
that's dope. So what else do you have coming up before we go? So let people know the future for Warbaby.
I'm just really working hard on my content. I'm just trying to keep it fresh and interesting, and that's just mainly always my focus is my content. And I wish I could focus more on other things like social media and making TikToks or like something like that. But
you don't want to make TikToks.
I don't. And I don't even want to watch TikToks, to be honest. I really don't.
I have a friend of mine who keeps sending me TikToks. I'm like, why? Just say why. Like, why you keep sending me this?
Well, TikTok's the kind of thing. It's like once you get into it, you're in the culture. And as the trends come and go, you're following them. But I don't know what is going on. People send me TikToks half the time. I don't even see what's funny about it.
So
I'm just like, this place is not for me. I mean, I have one because I have friends who have TikToks, but I should really spend more time just in general on social media interacting. But it's like, there's only 24 hours in a day. I mean, do you want good content or do you know what I mean? It's like, I can't be everywhere at once. So
I agree. That's why Twitter is my main play space, because I can't do all that other stuff.
Yeah, it's too much. It really is. And it's like people put so much time into it and it's like, I don't see how they're doing anything else.
Yeah. Not good looking enough for Instagram, not old enough for Facebook. so
I mean, I have all of them and they just sit there. They just sit there like it's an in memoriam page or something. It's really sad. Yeah. It's really sad, but I'm just not that kind of person. I know no one cares what I'm eating.
You'd be surprised.
Well, you think someone's going to care and then you post what you're eating and nobody says anything. So it's like, why did I even bother?
You'd be
just surprised. Get me out of here. But yeah, Twitter's my go-to as well. It's really easy to get in and out of. And, you don't get sucked in too much like Facebook. Yeah. You start watching videos on Facebook, you could be there for 3 days.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I don't go in there because I want to hear about people's lives that I knew 20 years ago. I don't care about
They're all lying anyway.
They 100% are.
Yeah, they're all lying. You ain't happy. You ain't happy in your marriage. You don't love your kids. Take it back. You a lie.
Oh man, see, this is why me and Warbaby get along so well.
Lies on lies on lies.
Facts.
So I only go when I have something real truthful to talk about. And it's not very often. People, I just don't see why anyone would give a shit, honestly. I don't expect you to. I don't think you should. If you do, you need to spend more time on your own life, honestly. I don't give a shit about what anyone's doing. I don't give a fuck where you were, honestly. Waikiki, Tahiti, I don't care. Silly to travel outside the country right now. Silly.
This is why I love this woman so much.
I swear people travel just to take pictures for freaking social media. I swear they do.
Yeah.
I'll never be that person.
Awesome. All right.
Until my third documentary drops.
There you go. You got to give her a bag first.
That's right. That's right. You got to earn it. I got to earn it. So once I earn it, then I'll be out there showing it. Have you ever come across this show on Netflix called, oh man, I don't even remember now, something about rich people of Africa?
No, I have not.
I'll have to, I saw it when I was at getting my hair done, and we were going through Netflix and saw it real quick. I'd never heard of it, but she said they're so stupid and extravagant, but she did watch all 7 episodes. So it's got to be good. Yeah. She only knows because she's seen it from front to back. So I'll have to find it and send you a link, because these people do look utterly ridiculous.
I definitely got to check that out then.
Yeah. I can't wait to see the next season of Selling Tampa after this. Is it too soon for hurricane jokes?
Nah.
Selling Tampa next season. No, starting from scratch. Is that what they're going to call it?
I don't
know. Rebuild.
Oh man. No, never too early for hurricane jokes. We do it down here all the time.
I didn't tell you guys to live there.
No, we ain't had no choice. No one else will take us. That's
Florida. You guys might as well be your own country at this point.
Yeah, pretty much.
Come to Arizona where everything is on fire.
Doesn't sound too bad now.
If we could just get some of that hurricane action over here on this side of the country, everything would just even out. But no, it never works that way.
Y'all just get the scorching heat.
Mm-hmm. It was 104 today. It's just ridiculous for September.
Fuck that.
The end of September even. But no humidity, so it's a dry heat.
Nah, I'm cool.
Only way we're all alive.
I'm cool. All right. Let them know where to find you at, Warbaby.
Well, you can find me everywhere at Killer Kids Pod, and you can find my podcast wherever you listen. It's called Murderous Minors.
There you go. Thank you guys for listening. And as always, Delvin Cox Experience, we are out. Peace.
Bye, everybody.